right, hello, welcome back.
Oh, Ori, I was just about to send you a message. My mom just informed me that it is raining and pouring, and my car is not covered.
Well, good
so
luck.
I gotta go do that before it leaks. Have fun.
Have fun.
I shall be back soon. Wish me
All
luck,
right.
and pray I don't get drenched.
I wish you luck, but thankfully it's at your own house, so you'll change clothes later. Alright, we'll turn Mars off for a little bit then. And then we say sayonara. No, Jamie. Jamie, that's the problem. Also, Jamie, I'm about to post something because I forgot to do that earlier. But, sadly for Mars, her car is technically not waterproof, as it has a, who's a Mawetsi? It has a leak from a sunroof. That's what I want. It has a sunroof, and that sunroof leaks. And that is a problem. But yes, I meant to post things, but I have been bad at posting things today. Honestly, this week has been really, really out of order. So. Here, who's a Mawetsi? Yeah, you know, that's how it is. We always add a question mark because who knows? See, what's sad is I specifically changed it to posting the thing today instead of tomorrow because I wanted. Yes, I am posting your medic drawing, Jamie, because I specifically turned it today instead of tomorrow because I wanted to be on stream when you saw it or after you saw it. Like, I wanted you to be here in stream to see it. So yes, I meant to post it earlier. My apologies, but I shall post it now. It's very important that it's all the same. I have to be on top of it. I'm doing it. It's coming, Jamie, I promise. It's happening. We'll show stream the preview so that they can all really want to pay money for it. No. All right, there. Medic. Yeah, done. It is posted, Jamie. You can see it now. Alright. Oops, goodness. No, I don't need that open right now. I can't do it that way. Here, guys, look at this preview of art. Of spicy art that you totally want to spend money on. Okay? That it is. Hello, Hans. You came at a very funny time. Welcome. Is it that spicy? Oh no. I think out of all the people, I'm not worried about Hans. I'm not worried about Kaz. Honestly, all of the D&D stream people, yeah, they're here for the spicy too. You know, Cinder, Kaz, Hans, they're all chill. They're all down to clown. We're all good. I know Drow, so we're all you know, Hans and Drow, very good friends. So you know, he's got it. Everybody's in the chill of the socks. I need the socks. We all need the socks. They also look so fuzzy and warm. You didn't know you were here for spicy? I don't know. Are you here for spicy dichotomy? I see the things you at least claim to refrain from saying in the in your own Discord. So I don't know. I don't know. Spicy. Well, you all got that preview spicy, right? It's the preview spicy. And if you want to see full spicy plus other Spicy. The Spicy chose you. You know, he's got the cake for it, you know, and he's got the prey vibe, I guess is the best word for it. But let me close 80 of my bajillion freaking tabs. Welcome everybody. We're here to talk about visual storytelling. Well, I'm sorry, storytelling mediums, which may or may not be visual storytelling. He really does.
It is pouring out there.
Welcome back. We have everybody joined just as I remembered that I had to post the medic drawing for today.
Oh, wow.
And then I was showing off the
yes, a Mars.
Preview.
A drowned Mars.
No. See, dichotomy. What you don't understand is that Mars is the very first person to see the Spicy besides myself.
Oh, yes.
Mars gets
always
viewing. Mars has a lot of. No.
It is called writer privilege.
Dichotomy.
I need to know what I'm writing about.
No. We need the storytelling small first, then medium, then large. All right.
Of course, you gotta go
venti,
no?
tall, grande, venti, tall, grande, venti.
No. Call them what they are: small, medium, large.
Small,
End
medium,
of story.
large. But Mars is the quality checker.
That's the rite of passage. It sounds like you're doing it right.
There's a lot of images, of Spicy, of Future Spicy. Literally everything I post on Ko-fi Mars has already seen. Both the Carpenter doodles and the medic doodles, and obviously the actual comic itself. All of them.
You know, there was a poem that had to go with Spicy Leprechaun Day. So.
Yeah, and you guys didn't even get to see the full Spicy. I mean, Mars did, but chat, you guys got the preview Spicy, okay? You got the little cropped version that I put on to just make sure that if people were in Medic for whatever reason and didn't want to see the Spicy, which I know it's only Jamie right now, and I know Jamie is there for the Spicy, but oh yeah, there's way more Spicy.
Yeah, full Spicy.
It's full Spicy. It's not explicit, it's just Spicy. Literally, okay, this is really cool. I'm gonna talk about this. There's a artist that I follow on YouTube, and she is Ace, and I'm pretty sure. She's Ace, and for Pride Month, she's doing a video about like NSFW art in the community, Ace artists and their like opinions on it and thoughts on it and all that sort of stuff, and. So she like reached out to her community and was like, "Hey, any Ace artists come represent and like, you know, give me a statement." And so I gave her a statement, and so that was really cool. I feel like it's like a weird sort of feeling when when you're like, "Oh, I get to associate with other people." It's very funny. It's like
I have been welcomed into the past.
Well, it's the same vibe I get when both Hans and Cinder have like reviewed like my homebrew on their streams, right? Like that's the same kind of vibe of like, they're looking
that's how
at my
you know
things.
you've made it.
Oh yes,
exactly.
Oscar, if you write literally anything that is, I will read it. If it's in Spanish, I will read it. Well, then it'll be a fun video to watch. Jake.
You will read it all. That's the thing about it.
It seemed like I was very similar in thoughts to the artist who's doing the video, and so that was interesting. Yes, there's lots of full Spicy on there. There's a good, most of it's Easter and Leprechaun. There's another Leprechaun coming out, Jamie, because I can't not throw it away, obviously. I mean, if you want to see the calendar
Ori, you have
shows...
all this good content. You can't just chuck that.
Oh, no. Well, the only other option was, like, wait till next year, but I can't do that either, because then I probably won't like it at that point as much. So it's like, I gotta do it now. So it's very important. But
see,
community.
That's the balance you gotta have.
But yeah, we have a nice little calendar for the Spicy. That's free to everybody. Oh.
So much noise on your end. Tori.
Yeah, you know, the everybody's having a crisis now because of the rain. It's the spicy police. They're coming for you.
Apparently.
All right.
It's the spice police. They found you.
They found me. But that's fine, Hans. Happy to have you.
Go for it,
Glad
Hans.
you could come in at
Please
the time
lurk.
that you did. I guess.
Like the Stream Element says, we're just happy to have you aboard.
Exactly. All right, but with talking about spicy and talking about Oscar writing fanfics and me drawing spicy and all this sort of stuff,
Let's talk about different mediums. Good night, Scarecrow.
good night, everybody. I'm glad you could all pop up for this brief, very
For
odd
this.
moment of choice, but we're
I'm
happy
just
to have
sorry
you
I
for
was
any portion.
drowning outside and missed it.
Yes, yes.
I'm not
And,
kidding. It is pouring out
Yes,
there.
but lurking is always appreciated, whether you state it or not. We're happy to have anyone doing literally anything. So thank you for all of that. But
Always a huge thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
we are talking about storytelling mediums. Now,
Indeed we
what
are.
do I mean by that? Lurkers never saw the spicy. No. See, that's what you don't understand. A lot of lurkers do see the spicy. They just don't want to chat, and that's fine.
Yeah. You know, they come for one thing and one thing only. Blah.
That's okay,
Early and
dichotomy.
only.
You can see that's the specialty of the YouTube video, right? You can watch the
Exactly.
shorter version of Ace Attorney on YouTube,
Anytime you want.
and then you can stay for the D&D the homebrew streams, which is exactly, the niche. So it all works out.
It balances phenomenally.
Oscar, you could talk for everybody. 80 different
And
personalities.
good luck at the new job.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Oh yeah,
by
it
the
seems
way.
like it's job season for everybody right now.
think
Mars
so.
recently
Ooh.
got a new job.
I just got my
Dichotomy
first
a new job.
paycheck from my new job.
Ooh,
So I'm like,
fancy.
I'm feeling good. Okay,
Fancy.
no lie. When I got the first paycheck tonight, I cried.
Oh my god.
I don't know why. Apparently, I'm just a bucket of emotions this week. Don't ask.
That's what happens during finals. I don't think everybody. Hour? No, see, the only paycheck that is ours is the Folding Planets. $6 from Jamie. That is the only
Hey,
hours money.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
Oh no, it's
Thankful and appreciative,
Oh,
always.
of course. Every cent. If you gave me 1 cent, I would thank you. Sadly, I can't split that with Mars. It's kind of difficult, but
Yeah,
2
that's
cents.
kind of
then-
hard. It's like D&D currency where you start pulling out the calculator.
Oh, I think Rome. I feel like Rome, Oscar. I would go to Rome.
Oh,
Ooh,
definitely
but if we go to France, we
Rome.
could see Grenade. We could go eat at
We
Grenade's
could
bakery.
see Grenade,
So, I don't know.
and we could go to the bakeries.
Yeah, difficult.
It'd just be the three of
Difficult
us. It'd be
decision.
so cool. Oh, now I'm torn.
But storytelling mediums, what are they? What do I mean? What is the whole thing?
Yeah,
I try to keep it a
maybe
little
we
on
should
track.
actually
little
describe
bit.
that.
We got off railed with my spicy.
No, guys, let us talk about this a little bit, and then we'll go back to the random stuff.
You don't have to let us do anything, oh man. But Hans is streaming. All right, very nice.
Oh, nice.
We'll try to-
Oh, maybe
we'll try to
we'll
remember to raid.
return the raid later
yeah, we'll try
on.
to remember to raid. But Oscar, that's your job.
Yes.
But
Oscar, you have a duty now.
So, storytelling mediums. What do I mean by that? Well, you have visual mediums, you have written media, you have like audio media, right? You have ones
That's
that
totally a thing. Podcasts,
are, yeah, podcasts, music,
radio shows.
I mean,
podcasts
you have a
that
lot
act
of things
like
that are some of both, right? When you talk about like operas or musicals or plays, that's visual and audio, right? Like it's important that you're hearing it because like there's sort of like a lot of differences of things that are solely one thing or ones that are a combination of a few
Ori,
of them.
if you're going to go into the niches of the silent film era,
Well, yeah,
be
there's
my
that.
guest.
But so that's what's very interesting. Oh, I'm sorry for you, Oscar.
That's unfortunate, Oscar.
No entiendo. Okay. So, the whole thing is that, like, visual media, right? So things that you are looking at, seeing experiencing, usually in the form of pictures or, people actually doing acts. So I'm not talking about reading. You could say I'm looking at words. That's not considered visual media. A comic is a visual media. A TV show or a movie, a play, those are all sort of visual media. A video game is visual media. Current video games. We're not going to talk about the text-based adventures yet. We can later on. But then you have written, the written word, where it's only words, and that's like novels, books, those sort of things. Like I said, these text-based adventure video games where there's no pictures, there's no, video, there's solely words on a screen describing you what it is and what to do. And then finally you have like the audio media, which we talked about. A big one is podcasts. An audio book turns a book from written media into audio media. So that's another big one there. Music, a lot of times, is just the audio. You can have a music video, but a lot of times you're just listening to actual music, and that's a whole thing, right? So each of these have their shortcomings, benefits and drawbacks, and in very different sort of sections, in my opinion, of drawbacks, right? Like, they don't have the same ones, but different, if that makes any sense. They have very different niches of drawbacks. And what do I mean by that? Mars, if you want to jump in when I say this to disagree, you may. Because you might. I might be wrong.
Well, I'm curious what you're going to say now.
What I'm going to say is that I find, and this could just be me personally, so that's why I'm calling to Mars to see if she agrees. I find that visual media has a very different drawback than the other two. And what that is the time. Not the time to consume it, but the time to make it. Right? You think about animation, you think about comics, even visual novels, or even live action stuff. It takes a lot of time because there is a lot of things, right? If you're drawing, you're drawing the characters, you're drawing the backgrounds, and you're drawing them over and over and over again, right? Even in a visual novel, you still have to draw a lot of assets, and the more characters you have, the more assets you need, the more places you want to go, the more backgrounds you need. Same with live action. If you want to be in a bunch of different places, you need to create more sets. You need to, direct more people, all this sort of stuff. Stunt actors, stuntmen and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to visual media. So
that I agree with.
To me, the biggest drawback of visual media, especially that humans are such visual creatures, that it is the time consumption it takes to make such a thing, just like on average, right? I think Mars could have written and finished Outcaste if she really tried, if it was just a novel, right? If it was just a novel, versus just the length of time it takes me to draw it compared to the length of time it takes Mars to write a script, just naturally, just the math, right? Oh no, not Johnny. Evil Oscar.
Oh no!
Dark Oscar. What's the pixie
When did
Oscar?
Evil Oscar get here?
He's just arrived.
You.
That's the biggest drawback. When you have written word, right? To me, the biggest drawback is the needing to create a picture in your head, right? You need to force somebody to imagine, at least tangentially, as close as possible, the same thing that you were imagining when you wrote it, right? And that's a very difficult thing because everybody thinks of things differently. You tell somebody to think of an apple, right? And everybody can know what an apple is. And they can, one, all think of a very different apple. Two, some people can't even think of the apple at all.
Apples come in.
Yeah.
Like,
got
your
all the
apple is not going to look
colors.
the same as the apple I'm
You
thinking
get
of.
all the types,
Unless
the
I tell you what to
shapes.
imagine.
You know, some people might even be weird and not think of an apple. They'll think of an apple pie. Or what if it's cut up? What if it's not cut up? What if it's peeled? You know, cored, whatever. And then you have this a group of people that can't visualize anything in their head, right? That is an impressively large group of people when you like think about it. It's, you know, it's not that many people mathematically, but like,
Oh yeah, but there's
it's more
definitely
people than you think it is,
people who struggle with that.
right? And on top of that, there's also people that don't have an inner voice to read, right? And making the voices of the characters have a voice, right? So it is like a medium
This
that
this
you're
is also
relying. Yeah,
one of those topics that I want to get like super nerdy on,
yeah.
because with my profession, one of the things that hypothetically I would work with a client on could potentially be reading skills,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of higher level thinking and reasoning that goes into that. You know, when you read a
Mhm.
sentence, you have to understand the nuances of language. You have to understand that certain words go together, and when these words go together, they make a phrase that you're able to understand, and you're able to understand what its impact on the story is. You're able to understand, like, oh, if the character does this action, that means they're feeling this. That's something called pragmatics. So there's a whole bunch of essentially not executive functioning, but it's kind of that. It's a lot of critical thinking, I think, is the better word, that
There's a
goes into
lot
reading.
more effort, I think. You know, you can't sit.
There's a ton of effort, because I know people who can read something and it's like fictional. It's not like nonfiction or an article or something, but they'll look at that and they're like, yeah, I just read that and I did not understand what that's supposed to tell me. But another person can read that and it's like, okay, I got the scene. I understand what's going on. I know what the character's thinking. Let's do this. I'm in.
What's very interesting to me with that is the idea of that when you specifically watch a show, right, where the thing is doing all the effort for you, right?
Yeah. That's because you had people who spent the time to lay it all out for
exactly.
you visually.
But the point I'm trying to make is I can watch a show in English, right? I can't watch a show where I have to watch subtitles. I can watch a show in English, and I can be doing something else. And while I'm not necessarily at the level of paying attention that the people who like make theories and like really predict and do stuff, I can still pretty well watch that show, right? Now, not everybody can multitask, but like I could still watch that show pretty well, even if I've never seen that show before, right? Because it's two slightly more passive things going on of looking over there and listening, right? So I can wash the dishes, you know, I can unload the dishwasher, right? These are things that I can do at the same time. I cannot do that if anything involves reading. The second subtitles come on. If I'm reading a book, if I'm reading a comic, if there are words in there, now that is all the time, right? I cannot do anything else. I can't listen to something else. That is, you know, you can't talk because you're processing sort of the same things in a very weird way. So it's like I couldn't read a book and watch a show. That would be a lot of information. But
that would be a lot all at once.
But it is interesting. I can talk to somebody for a short period of time and watch a show because you can look at the show while talking to somebody, you know? So you're getting at least 50% of the information at any given time, right? If you're not looking at it, you're hearing it, and if you're not hearing it, you're looking at it.
You're still taking it in somehow.
Exactly. So, but a book, I find it is very easy for somebody to have that, like, I have read the same line 5 times and I still do not know what it says. Because while you could physically obtain information that these are the words, They just go right out the other end.
But if you're not able to put together a larger meaning from that,
which is a lot more effort than it sounds like it should be.
Oh no, it's a ton of effort. It's a ton. That's why this is targeted by SLPs, because it is such a refined skill that we honestly kind of take for granted once we move out of the learning to reach stage. Oh yeah. Have you ever thought about what it takes when you're reading? You probably don't think about it anymore.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah, because
until you come to a word that you have no idea what the fuck it is. But that's rarer the more you read.
That is rare the more you read, because the whole idea is that you build a foundation, essentially. You learn all the rules first for pronouncing words, and then you learn the rules for how sentences are structured. And then once you have that in place, you can start understanding the nuances that go into a narrative. What makes, like, plot and stuff like that come later. What comes first is the parts of the story, like, are all the pieces there? Is there a beginning? Is there a conflict? Is there a resolution? And then you have, is it told in order? Like, those are the most basic skills that we start with, and then it just kind of evolves from there. So it really is a lot more than what people think it is. There is so much going on. It is so detail oriented, I guess.
And then so that's where I think that, like, audio only media or mainly media comes into this sort of like middle category, right?
There are certainly people that are very good at listening and just using that. Like, it's almost theater of the mind.
But it's the idea that you get a little more information than just reading, but obviously less information than looking at it, right? You can't see body language through an auditory, an audio medium, but you can hear tone of voice. You can hear the different people talking, right? So you no longer have to imagine how all the characters sound like. You only have to imagine what they look like, right? You no longer need to fully visualize a forest or a storm. You get the sounds of a storm, the sounds of what walking through the woods sounds like. And that's another level that is less work for you, right? So it's like, I can listen to an audio book, right, or a podcast while driving, because I'm looking at the driving and listening to the thing, right? So it's this whole sort of thing. And if it's done right, you're still describing it very well, but there is still a level of visualization that you need.
Yeah.
That you don't need in a video.
Because you have to set the scene.
Exactly.
That way you can see it happening.
Visual only medium that has like no words, like silent films, and then you don't even have the title cards that come up with like some dialogue. That is still like a level of interpretation to it, right? And you obviously can't.
Oh, definitely.
You have to be looking. You can't not be looking.
Because with that one, you have to understand how body language works.
You have to understand body language.
You have to understand, like, and that's why in silent film in particular, the actions are so over the top and so over dramatic, because they're really selling you on that idea. This guy is laughing. This guy is happy. This person's frustrated. And they really want you to pick up on that. Like, once you moved into it's actually really interesting. There was actually a movie based on this. I can't remember what the name of it was.
The
but Artist? Maybe. But what I remember happening in the movie was that essentially the movie was about a movie studio that was making the transition from silent film to talkies.
Singing in the Rain?
They were using voice. It might have been Singing in the Rain, actually, now that you say it.
When you finally described what it was, it sounds like Singing in the Rain.
Actually, yeah, it was Singing in the Rain. But for those of you who haven't seen it, what basically happens is, it totally was Singing in the Rain. You're right, Ori. But what happens in it is when they film the new version of their movie with the voices sound absolutely ridiculous.
Well, one of them does.
Well, one of them does. But I think also the guy was getting laughed at as well because he was over the top. Or maybe I'm thinking of another movie and the two are blending.
I think that's a different movie because in Singing in the Rain, it was the whole thing. The male actor, he was perfect the whole time. He was great.
I remember
he
the
could
female
sing.
actor had a voice that didn't really work.
Classic voice.
And that's where they got the other girl to dub her.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what Singing in the Rain was.
There's that movie, and then there's also another movie that I can't remember the name of. But that's actually the one I'm referring to. Because the one with Singing in the Rain, kind of the same idea, but the problem there was like she didn't have a voice for a talkie. Whereas in the other movie that apparently I can't remember the name of, the guy who was now having to do a talkie, he was completely over the top and over dramatic. And when people saw the first screening, they couldn't stop laughing. They were like, oh my God, this is supposed to be romantic drama, but it's more like a comedy because he sounds so ridiculous. No one talks like this. So he kind of had to unlearn everything that he knew up to that point because his only experience was silent film and being over the top. That's the only way you could convey emotion in a silent film. Exactly. So it really is different. I wish I could remember the name of that movie. I'll have to ask my mom. I know she's seen it.
No, okay, it's not the movie I'm thinking of.
If it helps the scene, it's like a king and a queen, and
yeah, no, it's not the movie I'm thinking of. I don't know.
Proclaiming his love her, so he's like, I love you, and that's when the audience starts like giggling and bursts out laughing and shaming him. God, why can't I remember that movie? I'm gonna have to ask my mom, guys. Sorry. It's been a while.
So why does this matter, right? Why do we care? And the reason why we care
certainly has to do with the audience you're trying to reach, I think.
I think it has to do. See, and I think my biggest consideration is time. And now, let's say you are equally good at every option, right? You know, if you are good at writing, you're essentially good at all of this except the drawing portion of the drawing ones, right? Because it all starts with a script, right? Like it all, no matter what, silent or not, it all starts with a script.
Everything starts with a script, right? A draft, or some kind of idea.
So if you are telling a story, you have to be a writer to a certain extent, right? Now, so let's pretend you are equally as good at writing and drawing and voice, you know, speaking, right? You have a fine voice. Which one do you choose? And while it is audience, right? It definitely is audience. I think it also depends on time, on resources, and definitely on exactly the story you want to tell. Because I don't think that our comic could be told effectively as anything other than a comic or a visual novel or a animation.
Now that I completely agree with, and there is a very specific reason why, particularly for the writing medium or novel medium. We have I'm going to call it a surprise. I don't really call it a twist.
Yeah,
but
it's a reveal. There's a reveal.
Yeah, there's a reveal that comes up. And let me tell you this. If we were not doing this story in the comic format, if this were a novel that I were writing, it would have to be from the main character's perspective. And let's be honest, that's probably the only perspective we're going to get. Because if you start jumping around the inside of people's heads, it starts to lead to confusion. Because you can't have too many points of view involved, you'll confuse your reader. Now, the problem with that is, because of that, you would know what's going through this character's head at certain points that would tip you off to this reveal. So while the event could still happen, it would definitely be less of a reveal in the sense that we're treating it, and more like a how long before the shoe drops.
A suspense. It's not suspenseful in the comic. It's not meant to be suspenseful because it's not. They do this very often in Ace Attorney, right? They do this very often in Ace Attorney, where they reveal the answer, right? Like we in at least three of the turnabouts, right? We know who is the murderer, right? Like especially going into that last trial day, if we have a last trial day, we know who's the murderer. The fun of it is the suspense on how they did it, right? On sort of how it all happened, or how you're putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
Right? So the big one I think of is, in Turnabout Reunion, that's what it is. We know at the end that Einy Miney is the killer, right? Like, we know that, okay? She literally comes out and says it. She says, but you can't get me, right? So the whole point of that last trial is to essentially put the pieces together as to how she did it, right? In order to frame her. Same with, we know that Red White did it. We also know how he did it, but it's the how do we pin it on him, right? How do we actually convict him, get that guilty verdict?
How do we show everyone that we have? What we already know.
Exactly. Same with Frank
and
saw
what will
it.
game let us do?
It's a we know he did it, we know how he did it. He theater on the head, but it's how do we get everybody else to agree that this is what happened? Versus in Turnabout Goodbyes, the twist, the reveal is that Von Karma had all this to do with it, right? We knew Von Karma did the first part, but it was the second part, right? That was like the whole deal. So there's sort of different levels, and it would be a very different story told in a fully novel, like in a novelization, right?
Oh, incredibly so.
It would be a very different story.
You're also getting, and you do get insight into Hotzen's thoughts, because we do have the thought bubbles, we have the journal strips. It's literally telling you what he's thinking. But in a novel, there would be so much more of that. Because when you're in a novel, you're seeing things from that character's perspective. So you're going to be in their head. You're going to have a lot more information from that perspective just because of the type of medium you are in.
Exactly. And that's another reason why I think that like an audio book, like an audio medium, I always think back to, I listened to someone who did a podcast musical, which was very good, but it's like a very distinct sort of thing. Which one is good, Oscar? What are we talking about? I'm so curious on what is we talking about.
The panel you're drawing? Maybe,
I don't know. Like, oh, this one's good. Thank you. You're praising one of us, I hope. So, I hope it's good.
We like praise. We like validation.
We do like praise and validation. Literally, I have made 2 channels now that are just nice comments people have sent.
It's good motivation.
It's very good motivation. Technically, every character has a piece of your soul on it. Yeah, exactly. And so, what I think is the problem with the audio-only medium is trying to describe this reveal in particular, but also that sort of thing that we've talked about in the past with the subtle foreshadowing of the visualness of it right in the background, and not having to draw attention to it in the way it can be drawn, would be something that again would be more brought attention to in a written or solely audio work, right? And so that's sort of the big thing there. And so that's why it was it's a very interesting thing to have sort of those drawbacks that you can and can't have, versus in a comic versus like an animation, the one thing that you are missing now, well, the biggest thing you are missing now, is the inflection, tone of voice, the accents, right? The voice acting.
That's why dialogue-wise you work so hard to try to convey the accent as accurately as you can.
And that's why it's very important to try and really draw the body language of a character and the expressions of the character and move it in and move it out, the camera and all this sort of stuff. And that's why I'm very excited for Dylan to voice it in the future.
I'm curious if you'll agree with me on this, Ori.
Mm-hmm.
I find comic medium, the comic medium, to be the best happy medium between animation and novelization.
I 100%
because you have the dialogue, which is basically the fun bits that come from the novel medium, and then you have the ability to visually show everything the character is going through and where they are, a la the visual medium through animation. The only thing I think you miss out on, aside from the obvious with the voice acting, what I find in particular that might be missed is the subtle change in expression. Now, you can totally have a change of expression in a comic. Like, you could totally have one expression in one panel,
but
and
drawing
then
more attention to it.
Well, drawing more attention to it. But in animation, if you see a character's face like fall in disappointment, you see their face fall. You watch them go through that shift. You see every change, and you can like see how they're feeling about it in that moment. I'm thinking of a very specific scene when I'm describing this. So I'm kind of wondering, I guess this does devolve into a question for you, is if you're conveying something like that in a comic, do you add more panels, or do you kind of like, how would you draw attention to something like this but still keep it so that it meets the criteria for the medium? Because you can't just have a bunch of panels that just show the minute changes. That's a bit too much, right?
Well, my first statement would be that you definitely can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And however, you can't do it all the time, right? So if it is sort of that important moment of sort of like that going through all the different emotions in between is the important aspect of this, because that the idea that you are watching the character sort of process it. Like I can see a scene that we will have that will probably have a significant amount of one character's expressions going on, and it is the same scene that we keep talking about because that's the one we really want to get to because it's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah,
and,
big time.
It's a very big song that goes with it and lots of stuff. But yeah, we literally have 2 songs around one moment, but
so fun.
It's a very good moment. And for that moment in particular, I can see going relatively big in the amount of panels that are showing. However, there is another sort of way that is commonly done in comics that I have seen actually twice now, kind of recently, within 2 of my favorite comics. Where it is, you see sort of the actual what is happening, and then you also see what the character is thinking in panels, right? So there's no words, But a good example just happened in the comic Aurora by Red from the Overly Sarcastic Productions. There's a character that we are learning now has a lot of trauma based on these very specific kind of creatures that he looks like he lost his mother to or something like that when he was young and unable to do anything about it. And now he is forced into a position where where these creatures are attacking him and his friend, and the friend who doesn't know about this trauma is like, because it's a horde of these creatures, is trying to run away, is trying to make an opening to leave and escape. But this character who has the trauma is not focused, is just fighting them to kill these creatures, right? Even though he is very overwhelmed by the amount of creatures physically, that is his goal, is to kill them all because of this trauma. And we don't really understand that until there is a page where it is, as Red puts it, essentially 2 pages in one, because it is over panels in the full colored, full saturation sort of thing of him fighting the creatures, and between these sort of cracks, as this sort of is crumbling, is the way that the panels look, is this sort of desaturated, faded under comic panels of the moment where these creatures like seem to attack his mom. So like his thoughts, right? Like, so what he is envisioning during that whole thing, sort of while what is actually happening. And so while you're not watching the character's emotions, like specifically, like honestly, you don't really see his face very much in this, you know what he's feeling, right? Like you get that same sort of emotional break, I guess, that you get as a character sort of sees the object. So I think in a comic, when you would do a lot of panels for how the character is looking and how their expression is going down, is when the thing that they are looking at has not been shown yet, right? So if it's a whole reveal that the character is seeing it before the audience is, I can see a like relatively long, because especially in the Infinite Scroll comic format, you can get it as sort of like a little slideshow, like a little flip book almost, if you like scroll through it, you know, and see it sort of like devolve, that you can have that. You're not turning a whole page, right? Versus if you see the thing that the character is looking at, I think more knowing what they're thinking in sort of like that very classic like flip through the past, you know, like having a flashback like Phoenix does all the time, can be just as impactful as that sort of like, you see the character's one expression and you see all the thoughts running through their mind in a bunch of different panels, right? You sort of have those 2 layers to it. That is very different. And I personally, in my personal opinion, and I think Mars will agree with me on this, I think that animation, like fully with the good music and good voice acting and obviously good artists, is sort of the pinnacle of media, right? It has everything you could want. You get every moment, and I literally see the sole drawback of animation is the goddamn fucking amount of time it takes.
The amount of time it takes, the amount of planning that needs to go into it, because essentially with animation, you start with rough comic panels. That's what storyboards are at the end of the day. So you kind of start from one medium and move to another, which is kind of wild.
And what I think is so interesting about that is that I would kill to have Outcast be an animated show.
I mean, just look at the opening that was made.
I would literally die. Like if that was my final wish, like I would die a happy person. Like it is, I visualize in animation, and then I have to take what my brain is considering to be how many souls? A lot of money. It's one of those things where it's like, if this takes off the ground, I would look into making it a Kickstarter at the end, you know, like Lackadaisy has done. You know, if it gets like attraction like that, it would definitely be something
Ori,
to look into. But
I'm kind of curious. Now I have another question.
yeah.
So you are talking about how you visualize things in animation first. Like you have the movements, you have everything. And to be honest, that's how I visualize it too when I'm writing the script. I know I kind of leave clues for you behind in the script because I know what I want emphasized, because that's how it kind of needs to be depending on the medium. But I'm wondering, how do you, okay, so let's say there's a scene happening and you can imagine it in animation, like all the fluid movements, but because it's panels, you kind of gotta pick and choose like which, I'm gonna say, clip of that motion, like which segment of that motion do I want to take and freeze frame? What is the most important thing to highlight about that motion and put it in this moment of time in a single panel? Does that make sense? I feel like I did not describe that, right?
I believe I understand what you're talking about. Are you
It's kind of like
talking about in action scenes or just in general?
So the way I'm envisioning it, and I'll clarify this for our viewers as well. The way I'm envisioning it is essentially the way your brain works. Think of it like video editing software. You have this whole clip, you have a whole episode, and now you have to take your slider and select a single moment of that action. And that's what your panel is going to be.
Yes.
How do you make that decision?
So it definitely depends on exactly what is happening. If it is like an action scene, to me, what would be most important would be what describes the entire action the most, if that makes sense. I guess when you talk about animation, it's what are the keyframes, right? What are the moments that every single scene needs. Like, so if you were animating, you start and you make keyframes, which are the main points of the movement, and then you get the tweens in between and everything, and you make it fluid, and you make the timing right. So those keyframes would be the big things that I would be thinking about, because those are what are describing the movement the most, right? So it's like if you were throwing a ball, what is the most important for throwing the ball? It's the throwing it, it's the winding up, right? Pulling your arm back, leaning back. It's that moment in between that shows you are physically moving through a motion, and it is that follow through at the end with the ball move, right? That is 3 motions that very much allow you to know this person is throwing a ball. Now, the difference between why animation, in my opinion, is better at describing these sort of things than a comic is because you can throw a ball a lot of different ways. You can throw a ball hard with anger. You could throw a ball soft and caring, like to a child or something like that. You know,
like kind of
lob emotion. Yeah, lob it. You know, just gentle versus hard. You know, determined. You know, versus like timid. You know, there's a lot of ways you can do any action with confidence or, you know, scared. You could do that. When you have animation, besides showing, you know, the body language and everything, which you can do in a comic, you can also show the speed. And that's a very important thing sometimes. You can't have slow-mo in a comic. The way you do that is by drawing a lot more panels in smaller increments of stuff, right? Because you're literally forcing the reader to read it slower by doing that. But it's not exactly the same as when time slows down in animation, right? Like, you're never gonna get that exact same.
Because you go from a smooth frame rate to suddenly everything slowed down, the voices change, and those are kind of the key features of a slow-mo. Whereas, like, in a comic, I think it would be far less clear, to be honest. Like, you could drag a moment out, but it doesn't quite translate as slow motion.
You can definitely do it, but it's definitely not the same exact feeling. You know,
I feel
definitely
like
not.
in that case it would be a stylistic choice. And feel free
Exactly.
to disagree with me. You're the artist. You know about this more than I do.
It's one of those things where you would have a hard time having every audience member say this was slow motion. The goal would be to get this is what you were focused on, sort of, right? Like this, like drawing attention to the moment more, because that's what the slow motion is meant to do, right? You know, really drag out an important moment. And so as long as you manage to do that, you've succeeded, but you might not get every single person who read the comic to say they put it in slow-mo or time slowed down for the character, you know, just that they were very focused on it, something like that. When it comes to like more dialogue heavy scenes, it really depends on what sort of oh, you chose an epic one? How epic? Scale of 1 to 10.
It's gotta be a super epic one.
To me,
make us proud, Oscar.
To me, how I think about it is, what am I focusing on when I visualize that scene? Right? So it's like when you watch, like if I was watching a show and I was watching it for the very first time and I was watching it sort of uncritically, right? Like I'm not trying to pick it apart, I'm not trying to do whatever. What am I drawn to? What is the most important thing to me that is showing what I am thinking of, right? So it's very much, or how does the camera zoom in, right? What is the camera movement doing? Because that's a big thing that is a big part of how I visualize the animation, is very much with camera movements, right? And you can see it in actually the panel I'm drawing here right now.
Oh yeah.
Is how I visualized this was, you have this bit where he's saying what it is, and then you have the camera zoom in with that little crick of a smile where it's a slightly bigger smile now, you know, like that, or that turn around.
I can easily see that in an anime, because
exactly.
I have seen that in an anime. That is like textbook.
Exactly. And so that's sort of where that sort of matters. Versus panels like this in later on, you see it sort of like all these are all zoomed in hands of what he's doing. I wouldn't say that I sat there and visualized the camera zoomed in this far when I thought about this moment, right, in the animation that is my head, but it was what was important to my eye, what my eye was drawn to, right? And so to a certain extent, it was like, I want to force, like, it doesn't really matter what, you know, it was almost to the point where in the animation I wasn't even imagining Ferrex's expressions at this point. I was just focusing on how his hands were going, because that's sort of the vibe that you're supposed to get here in the whole thing, is that he's like trying to focus back on the task and like not think about the shit that Hotson's saying to him, you know, like he's trying to like calm down a moment, but it's really not happening. And so very much, so I could, one, see the camera being zoomed in, definitely, but I could also see the camera in an anime being sort of at his back, right? But that wouldn't necessarily convey the same thing where I really wanted to show him being back to work sort of vibe. So that's sort of how I think about it that way. So it's definitely, if I was to take an anime or a cartoon and sit there and make it a comic, right? What is the important bits to show during the whole thing? You know, I think that's the best way to think about it. What is most important to me? Because like you know, Ferrex is a relatively easy one in the sense of that he moves a lot, right? So he gets a lot of panels at any given moment, and the reason for this is because he's moving around a lot. So he gets a lot more panels while he's talking than any other character does, except maybe Milano, because Milano is up there with gestures and movements and stuff.
Yeah.
So Ferrex might say something, and he gets 3 full body panels of him leaning back in a chair, turning, you know, leaning fully back in a chair and slumping onto the ground, right? Versus another character would say that same line and be sitting still, so they would only get one panel, right? It's like that's, while they would have the same physical amount of screen time if it was animated, right? Like it would still take, let's say, 30 seconds to get through what they're saying. Since Ferrix is moving, he needs more panels than, say, Sinnit, who sits rather still, right? Another thing is, there's a moment where Aster taps his finger. There's 3 fucking panels of him tapping his finger. Because one, I'm trying to slow down time, right? So physically having to look at more panels slows down the reader. And 2, it was very important that I show that he taps his finger, right? Like that was a very significant to the whole scene. So when I'm imagining it in animation, that's the part I'm focusing on, is the idea that it's like tap, tap, tap. Now in animation, I would make it have more than just one tap, but I'm not gonna draw it over, copy paste over and over again. So you sort of get this sort of thing. Writing and drawing, you find, is equally difficult when you have aphantasia. You never have any idea on a good angle or description until you're halfway through, and then you just find out, it just looks as cursed.
Reads as cursed.
So the word, Oscar, aphantasia, I don't know if you know that one, or anybody else in chat, that's what we were talking about earlier, where you can't visualize something in your mind. So when you tell somebody to visualize an apple, while they know what an apple looks like, it's a challenge. And this is a very weird thing. It's difficult to describe. Aphantasia. That is the word, aphantasia. And it's again that you don't have a mind's eye. It is sort of the textbook definition. I find this a very difficult thing to get people who don't have it to understand. And even when you do have it, to realize that you have it. Yeah, that's how you would pronounce it, Oscar. And the reasoning for this is that I can't sit here and tell you that I close my eyes and see a movie or a painting. Like, it's not there, if that makes any sense. I'm not, like, physically able to watch a movie behind my mind, if I close my eyes, right? It's black.
See, that's interesting. I can do that.
See, and I don't. However,
I am able to watch a whole movie behind my eyes and just, like, think about it and take myself through it.
But what's very interesting is that I still feel exactly the same as what you feel doing that. Does that make sense? The way, while I can't sit here and be like, I am just literally looking at a TV, but it's behind my eyes, I still exactly visualize everything very vividly. But I don't know how to explain how I do that. So that's why it's very much, it's like, oh, if you close your eyes and you try to visualize an apple and it's not like there's an apple. I'm not looking at an apple. I'm not fucking looking at an apple. They never have been looking at an apple. However, I very much can visualize the apple. Does that make any sense? It's very difficult to explain. And this is why, baby, I have a particular issue explaining it.
Very fascinating.
Because like I said, I think in animation, I can quote unquote see Ferrix moving, but I honestly see it better with my eyes open. But I'm never actually seeing him moving, so it's a very difficult thing for me to like say I have one thing or not. So because every time like people are like, oh, you have aphantasia if you close your eyes and you can't see the apple. It's like, I've never fucking seen the goddamn apple. Like I don't know, but I'm not hindered in the same sense of by people that I know who actually do have it. Like I don't have their experience. This is very weird. Because, okay, very quick example before Shadow Freak says, described it as writing a letter or making a collage image with image clipping. You can't see it, but you have the idea what it looks like. FBI know too much. See, and that's definitely not my personal experience, Shadow Freak, and that's why I wouldn't say I have it. And it's because I had an example and then I lost it.
Oh no!
In organic chemistry, if you have ever taken organic chemistry, it is all about molecules, right? I also play this game called Rummikub, which is all about moving pieces around. So looking at a board that you cannot touch and imagining moving all the pieces around to fit with the pieces in your hand. Or like I was talking about with organic chem, you have molecules and you have to be able, and it's, they literally give you models during class if you need them to physically be able to rotate and move it around in order to answer the questions. Like, it's very important to shape. Now, I wouldn't say that I can close my eyes and see the model, like Mars is saying that she can, right? I can't close my eyes and there it is floating in the blackness of the behind my eyes. It's not. I am eyes wide open, looking at, staring off into space, or looking at the board of Rummikub, and I can 100% think my brain through doing that, through visualizing it incredibly well. I did amazing at all that organic chemistry stuff. I am god at this game, and I don't say that lightly. I am god at Rummikub, man. Don't fucking test me. I love that game.
Damn, man.
I love Rummikub real hard. And but so that's why it's very hard for me to like understand the difference, I guess, because I'm in a very weird spot apparently compared to everybody else. You know, someone was trying to be like, how do you visualize the months? Like arranged. When you think about the months of the year, how do you visualize them? Vertically,
Can be challenging.
in a line. Some people are saying in an S, in the classic groups of 3. Like, I don't visualize them at all, but I have complete and utter concept of like, I could do it. But I'm not looking at months in a line. I don't know how to explain it.
That is very interesting. I have to say.
Because-
Oh, don't die.
Yeah, thank you. Because obviously I can... I'm not having Shadow Freak's problem of not knowing how the scene works, as we have just discussed. But I'm definitely not watching it behind. Same idea, different description. Oh yeah, there is always a spectrum of mental stuff. You have no idea which one of it is? I'm no offense, Shadow Freak, but I'm going to have to say it's you because I don't have the struggle that you're saying with writing and drawing. I come up with poses very easily, very constantly, but it's definitely not, I'm not looking at a picture behind my eyes. But I can definitely... See, this is what also gets me on top of that. I know how I want it to look, and thus I can get very frustrated very easily when it doesn't look how I want it to look, right? And that's where the perfectionism comes in. So I don't know. I have a very weird experience, I guess, apparently. And such is life. So, I mean, Oscar, do you see the thing behind your eyes? I don't know if Dylan does, but again, you know, Dylan can imagine it, so I don't know. Very weird. September is wet.
Fascinating.
And it rains. It has big Wednesday or miracles. Oh, it has a big Wednesday on it because that Wednesday is your birthday. I see. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Or it has a big miracle on it. But yeah, okay. I didn't think we were gonna get into that because it's definitely the reason that I don't think I have it very strongly of that is because I've never been hindered by it. And everybody else I know that says with a fact that they have aphantasia is hindered by it in some way. They're not good at faces, or like you said, you struggle with drawing and writing and, you know, maybe reading too, who knows. I have never had any of those issues. I love reading, never struggled. I obviously do art, you know. While I don't enjoy writing, it has nothing to do with visualizing it. I just physically don't, I don't enjoy thinking about it. If that makes any sense. I don't like the description part. How Mars, you have talked about how you struggle in the past with the having to write out the whole scene to make sure that the other person is understanding. Like, I don't enjoy doing that to any extent.
I can envision it so perfectly in my head. But then, as a writer, you have to find the words to convey that. And this is something interesting about writing that I found out is unless it's something integral to the plot, then you want to write it as accurately as possible. If it's something that's a little more like you could go kind of fast and loose with it, it doesn't have to be super specific, you can kind of leave it and let people interpret that however they want. That was definitely something I had to learn, because if you don't accept that, your writings are going to be way too wordy. There's just going to be so much needless detail that is just not necessary, that it'll bog down your story. It was actually a pretty hard lesson to learn, because as a writer, you do kind of think, well, isn't that my job to get them to envision this a certain way? But then as you get a little bit more into it and you read some other stories and you read what other people are writing, you kind of realize, like, okay, you kind of pick and choose a little bit. You kind of prioritize what gets the attention, what gets like a paragraph's worth of exploration, and what gets maybe 1 or 2 sentence quick description, or what gets glossed over entirely. I mean, as the writer, you totally have control over that.
To DMing. And also art to a certain extent. But definitely DMing is the big place I really think about that. Of like,
I think it lends itself to a lot of creative mediums, because there's technically nothing stopping you from going into as much detail as you could possibly want. But the problem with that is there's this pesky little thing called pacing, and people have these pesky little things called attention spans.
How could they?
So I know it's the absolute worst. If it wasn't for those 2 things, we could describe how a couch looks for literally 2 books if we have enough words to do it. But we probably don't want to do that, because we don't want to grind our story to a halt.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balance that you have to strike there.
So we briefly mentioned inner monologue, which Shadowfreak is saying about how apparently 60%, I never knew the numbers, I knew it was more people than you expected, but 60% of people don't have an internal monologue. So that's more than half, which is interesting.
Dang.
And so...
Are we the outliers?
Well, so that's where I'm going to say this is interesting. I have one, but I can turn it off. Does that make sense?
So my internal monologue sometimes becomes external. I have no control over that.
I definitely have it, right? Like, I definitely, but it doesn't talk to me constantly. So I'm never one of those people that lays awake in bed thinking about stuff unless I have started something. Does that make sense? So if I've started thinking about something, then it's like, okay, this is now you can have a spiral. But I don't have that problem usually. Sometimes you do have to like distract yourself, but that's not the majority. It's only usually if something like really significant happened. Like one time, I upset Dylan, and so I had to like watch anime that night because I was very upset with myself that I upset Dylan. So I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like talking about, my head is talking to myself, the monologue is going. But then I can like be distracted by the show and it's gone. It's dead. It's gone. So it's a very selective, I have a selective internal monologue.
I was about to say.
So it's but I can will it in and out, like on a normal experience. Like I can will it in and out of existence very easily. So yeah, I don't know. Apparently I'm an odd person. I'm somewhere in the middle. You drown the monologue yourself? Yeah, I can. I can, definitely. So, who knows? Very weird. That's the weird thing about the human experience, and that's why any storytelling medium is always kind of weird, is because nobody experiences the same thing the same way. You fucking see color different compared to everybody else. I also learned that apparently if you have words for colors in the language that you speak, the more words for the colors allow you to see more colors.
Oh.
So if you have...
that makes sense.
Yeah, if you know of more words for blue, thus you can actually see more blues. Isn't that weird?
That honestly falls in line with something we learned this semester, is that knowledge begets more knowledge. Because if you have this understanding that there are more colors than just blue, well, then you're going to notice more colors than just blue. You're going to see teal, you're going to see turquoise, you're going to say cyan, like all of them, dark blues, navy.
Mm-hmm.
It just grows from there.
Yeah. But that was something I found out recently. I was like, okay, this is wild. And it makes sense because as an artist that specifically liked traditional mediums for a very long period of time, I can see artists who are digital medium artists mainly not gaining this as easily. But anybody who worked with traditional art is when you have things that give colors, they are all given names. So I own 365 or more Copic markers that have each, besides the grays, an individual name. Now the grays have numbers, and they all have numbers as well. So they have still some sort of differentiation to them. So when I say, so Dylan can come over and say these markers are exactly the same, and I could say, no, they're not. But I also know what they're called, and he doesn't. You know, so that's like an interesting sort of thing. So I do all those like color tests that are like, how many colors do you see? I can go very high on those, but I think it's probably because I can list all those colors. How many colors does Mars see? Mars?
I don't know.
Have you ever taken one of those color differentiation tests?
I have not. Is this a thing you do online? Should we all take it?
I'll find one.
Okay,
Color
now I'm curious. Guys, I'll take it.
Differentiation test.
I'm very interested
Color
now.
differences.
Because I don't know. I've taken a couple of art classes over the years. I certainly had the 64 box of crowns, so, you know, more than just the basics. Maybe working on the working on the comic, there we go. Maybe I do see more than I would expect, but I really never tested it.
I'm trying to figure out.
If you find one, please.
This is not the one.
I think I need it.
Is it this one? No, this is not what I want.
No.
Okay, this is it. I found it. I found one. Okay. This is the thing I'm talking about, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. This is it. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Oops, that's not what I want. Here we are. It is this thing. I don't know how to take it. Okay, this is not what I want. You can play Cuckoo Cube here. Okay, so it's a game. Alright, I will send the link in the chat.
Okay.
For everybody to play if they want.
I'm gonna play like right now. I want to know, and I want to be able to report back to you guys.
Oh yeah, we're gonna play right now. I'm gonna play right now.
Nice.
All right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So this is what I was talking about. There's a lot of these like online, on like the internet.
Okay, this is super easy.
Oh, it gets hard.
Does it? Oh, I see.
I told you.
Huh. Okay. Change. Crap! I can't find it! Oh, okay, I see that one.
Ooh, this one?
I'm gonna raise the brightness on my monitor as well.
Don't cheat, though.
That's not cheating!
It is.
That's just helping me see. I can't see if my screen is like pitch black.
Well, yeah, if it's that dark, why is it that dark in the first place?
Because the white background hurts my eyes.
Oh, okay. I got 26.
Okay, I spelled my name wrong. I got 23.
Alright, so not bad.
Honestly, that's not too bad.
I do find certain colors more difficult than other colors.
Okay, so there were a bunch of pinks. That
Yeah.
one got me. I guess I haven't seen too many pinks before.
Got 16 shadow
But
freaks. I'm sorry.
The blues were pretty easy to spot for me, as were the greens.
Blues were very easy. Purple I got a little hung up a couple times. Green was fine, yellow was fine, red was fine.
And it's interesting because I say pink was hard for me and purple was a little hard for you. And it's like, those are kind of sort of rare colors. Like, they're not
Also,
ones you're
pink's
gonna
my favorite
see
color, and
too
isn't purple your
often.
favorite color?
Purple is my... Yeah, we got
There you
switched.
go. Well, because I know pink
That's
better,
hilarious.
and you would know purple better, right? So,
I would know purple better, and I did not struggle with purple, which is funny.
yeah. You got 18. Women have higher percentage. And so this is an interesting thing, Oscar. I think it's true solely for the reason I stated before. And that sole reason is the fact that a lot more women know a lot more color names. At least that's a stereotype also within the whole thing. The idea that what is that? Oh, it's pink. No, it's rose. No, it's magenta. No, it's, fuchsia. Whatever. I mean, it took me many years to know what color chartreuse actually was, because I hate that it does not sound like the color it is. Does that make sense? You ever have that?
Oh, yeah.
Chartreuse does not sound like the color that it actually is. And I don't like that.
It's just confusing.
You have to go in your
Like,
cave and cry.
How dare you,
But
chartreuse?
Oscar, what this means is that you can learn to see more colors. Try again, code 2. You're gonna make me play again? Okay, fine.
We're playing again? Okay.
Is coming. Shadow Freak said they're coming for me, so.
Oh, wait, are we doing Cuckoo Coob 2
Yep.
or...
Oh no, I was just
Okay.
playing the same thing again.
Oh, I clicked 2.
This one. This one.
I have to find 2 different color tiles now.
Oh
Okay.
goodness. Well,
So
that's
far,
really
so
a game
good.
then. Oh, I'm
guess
warmed
so.
up, man.
Oh, man, I am speeding through these.
Oh fuck. This one? Yeah. Okay, that one.
Okay, that pink
This one?
wasn't too bad.
Oh, dark blue, really? Why is
Oh.
this getting me?
Okay. Okay, I found that. Is it that
This one?
one? This one?
No.
Is that right or wrong?
Oh, if it doesn't change, it's not right, apparently. God, why is
Okay.
this one getting me? Shit.
Is this one? Okay, got that. Is it you? It's you.
Oh my goodness.
Nope. Yes.
That one, I didn't know
you.
for some reason.
It's you?
Damn. Oh, I got
And-
exactly 26 again.
You? No? You? You?
Oh, okay, we'll play one
Oh,
more time.
this green is tripping me up. Damn it.
I got stuck on
Is it
navy
you?
blue.
Okay. It's you, and then it's you? Apparently it's weak. Even though I got to level 58.
Interesting.
Huh. That feels unfair.
Oh god, this one? No? What? This one. That one?
Don't you just love how our discussions completely
Yeah, that's
devolve,
fine.
guys?
Oh shit. This one. Okay, that one. Oh, I saw it and then it went away. That one. Okay. Yeah. Nope. I usually find it after a second.
You
This
could do
one-
it, Ori.
Don't know where this one is. No, I'm about to run out of time. 31! Alright.
Nice work.
I'll play one more time and then I'm gonna go back. La 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 la. Yeah, it starts out very, very easy and then you get very hard very fast. The neon green I find incredibly easy.
Hmm.
Oh god, shit. This one? This one? It's always these dark blues. Screw me.
Gotta love those dark blues. So fun.
Alrighty. No. Heck. Okay. This one. This one. This one. Oh my goodness, that one. This one. Okay, 32. You were so close to my original 26. Yeah, I'm at 32.
Not too shabby.
So we got it. It's the dark blues for me. Get me real bad. Those are the worst.
Interest- Don't have problems with the blues.
It's
It's
only
mostly,
the dark blues. Like lighter medium blues, we're good. The like
I'm trying to
navy
think, what
blues
was the
get
one
me.
that got me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, every time
Ugh.
this like dark blue one is like, no, you don't know these colors very well. And you know why? It makes sense. I like bright and saturated colors. So I probably know them better. Oh god, why is this one getting me? Heck. Okay. Purple. Purple. Sometimes I like see it and then like my eyes are like, it goes away. Okay, we're in the 30s now. Hate neon greens.
Onward and upward.
Alright, so 32 is my high score. We're done with that now. But look, there we go. Color people. Hey, I'm glad that I am the highest, as I am the artist. So I feel like I would be shunned if I didn't win.
No, you had to win. Yours had to be top tier
Exactly.
because you are indeed
Obviously.
the artist.
Now name them in Spanish. ¿Qué colores?
Oh, boy.
Roja, amarillo, anaranjado, rosa, azul, verde, gris, negro, blanca. Am I missing any colors? Pupura. I thought it was violeta or something. Moreno, café. I think that's all the colors that I know. What was that one ant colored? Morado and purpura. Purpura. They're all kinds of purples, yeah. So violeta is probably violet. I think morado is a darker purple, and then purpura is probably like, yeah, color de hormiga. Hormiga. Color de hormiga. See, look, I know some fun colors there, Oscar.
You're just really flexing, Ori.
No, Oscar sent me this meme that was specifically
Oh,
the fact that it was literally a meme, and it was literally like an English speaker being like, I know so many colors, I know all the colors in Spanish, and they're like, oh, really? You know, ¿qué es color de hormiga? And because it's like a saying, right? Like it's a saying about like I think it was like getting angry, like the color of your face when like something goes wrong, I think was the result of that whole thing. So, yes, you did, Oscar. There you are. Yeah, so it was like, it's not an actual color in the sense of like being a color you would say. That is color de hormiga, right? But it is like ant colored is like a saying, an idiom is the word I want. So I was just making a funny joke.
It was effective.
It was effective indeed. Oscar has is up to date with the comic translations.
Oh,
so
cool.
I just have to become up to date with the comic translations. It's something you say when telling someone a story or an event that happened. Okay.
Oh, okay. I feel like we always learn so much when you're around, Oscar.
Yeah, well, I told Oscar, because when I was at Oscar's stream, he said that, I'll learn Spanish, like I've come for my Spanish lesson. And then so I said he learns English on our stream, I learn Spanish on his stream.
Equivalent exchange.
So that's
how
lovely.
lovely.
It works out. And then he talked in German on the stream, and I said, oh god, this is not what I signed up for.
I paid for Spanish class.
Well, I didn't pay for anything. Oh, German for free. Yeah,
German for free.
side
There you
thing.
go.
That's what I have to look up now. I like to look up how many followers we have on the Spanish version, because it always goes up, as it has 182. Damn. Nuts. Isn't that nuts? We'll never get over that. Two days and you can make it in German too? Oh god, no. You're gonna learn that fast?
That'd be impressive.
If you learn that fast, that's impressive. I don't know if there's a German webtoon. I do know there's a French webtoon. German webtoon? Question mark? Google? Webtoon? Question mark? Oh, there is German webtoon. Damn.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, that's another audience to hit.
Oh my goodness, that's wild. Yeah, it's German.com, it's webtoon.com/de for Deutsch. Because I know there's French, is FR. Yep, French is FR. And then I think Spanish is ES. Yep, Spanish is ES. But yeah. Alright.
Oh, I need to close Cuckoo Coob.
Yeah, Dutch is the Netherlands. And it is, I learned, because I visited the Netherlands recently, Shadow Freak, and I learned that Old Dutch, which is close to Frisian, is closer to English than Modern Dutch, which is much closer to German. Apparently, Old Dutch, they would literally say all hands on deck to say all hands on deck. Like that's how they would say it. Now they say it, I don't remember how, but it's like all hand says, and then some very weird word for deck. I don't know. I don't speak Dutch at all. Are you bilingual too, Shadow Freak? Or is this something you took in school? Na gut. Wenn Sie das lesen. See, that's the umlaut that I don't know how to use.
Oh boy. It came back.
Konen ist es gut genug.
Unique.
Oh yeah, Filipino and Portuguese. I always are like, oh, it's Spanish, and then it's like, oh, it's not. No. I found out. I thought this is very funny why I say this. I thought that an artist that I liked was Hispanic, but no, they're Portuguese.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, okay, never mind. You talked with Europeans on Discord and they told you Dutch is potato Germany? Oh no.
Potato Germany?
My favorite thing. This is my favorite thing that happened, and I think this can be very relatable worldwide. Everybody who knows America, quote unquote, memes, I guess, they hate on Jersey, New Jersey, right? Why do they hate on Jersey? Because New York hates on New Jersey. Now, I saw someone from New Jersey who made a very funny Tumblr post, and it was like, someone said something about New Jersey, and they said, I know that you're from the Midwest. You are not allowed to hate on New Jersey. The only people who can hate on New Jersey are the people in New Jersey and the people from New York. That's it. Nobody else. Because while Jersey isn't as good as New York, it's better than a lot of other places. And this is very true. This is very accurate. Jersey is still, compared to a lot of America at least, pretty damn good. But it is not New York, and they know they're not New York, and New York is better. So they were like, the only people that could hate on Jersey are New Yorkers and New Jerseyans. And I was like, you know what, I understand. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, probably like Germans could probably be like, the Netherlands is potato Germany, whatever. Like they can say that, but it's not like everybody. It's just funny to me. I thought that was a really funny thing because it's like, you're right. Only New Yorkers and New Jerseyans can hate on New Jersey. Because, the joke is they make it out to be like... a
very small amount.
Well, the joke is they make it out to be like a cesspit. And it's not a cesspit. It's just, if you know what New York is like, and you go to New Jersey, it's definitely a downgrade, But it's an upgrade from a vast majority of the United States. So it's like, kind of interesting. New Jersey is little New York. Oh my god. Oh
jeez.
I laughed.
That one was violent. Holy
I
crap.
laughed and I died. That's what happened.
Apparently. Shit.
It's because
that
I can't
sounded bad.
Oh, it's like I can't breathe through my nose because of the allergies. Oh, no. So then when I'm laughing and I inhale wrong, it just makes it bad.
Pain.
Frazade with a Brazilian guy on Xbox. Yeah, exactly. Portuguese and, what's the Filipino language called? I can't remember it. But both of those are like Spanish adjacent, right? Where it's like, we're nearly almost the same language, but not quite. So it's like, same with Dutch and German, right? It's like, they could probably understand each other, but it'd be kind of weird. Yeah. I love how it's California, an entire state, which is a relatively large state, right? Like compared to the US. It's one of the big states. It's Alaska, California, and Texas, right? Are the top three. So it's a big state. And then the other one is Las Vegas, which is a city. I love the whole West US is California, which is a large portion of the West, not compared to the whole West, but it's a significant portion of the Western United States, obviously of the West Coast, but then Las Vegas. I love the thought of that. But the other thing is that when people say California, who don't know about California or the United States, like living there, They think of California as like San Francisco and LA. They don't think of any like Northern Cali stuff, you know, like you don't talk about that for whatever reason. Hollywood, you know, like that's what they think of California. Você la parla Portuguese? No. And I was like, huh? Vos? You parla?
I think you were right the first time.
No. So Oscar was saying that in Portuguese, the way to say habla, you know, like hablas, you know, Portuguese, right, is você la parla Portuguese, right? He asked, do you speak Portuguese? And Oscar is thinking how vos, V-O-S, in Spanish is the you, like the multiple you, and parlar, I guess, is another, you know, I always think of hablar, but parle, you know, parlare in Italian is to talk, right? And so it was like, so you talk? And then they just grunted and confirmed. So that's very funny. Yeah, that's what gets me. See, Italian and Spanish are kind of that weird one as well. I find Italian is like a weird mid-ground between French and Spanish, right? You have Spanish, which I consider to be very easy to read and write. It felt like you were talking in ancient Latin. Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed. That's always a fun experience. And then, so I always think about, out of those three main Romance languages, right? You have Spanish, Italian, and French. Two of them are always very similar, and this changes word to word. Two of them are very similar, and then the third one is the outlier, right? So you have parlare in Italian, you have, you know, like parlez-vous français, right? You know, so it's the same kind of verb. I don't know the preterite of the verb, the infinite of the verb, but then in Spanish you have hablar. Right? So it's like the outlier. You can kind of see where it came from, but it's a different word. You have agua in Spanish, you have aqua in Italian, and then you have eau in French.
Just eau.
So far, the only word that I've found is the same is tu, and tu. You can do that all. Those are all the same. They're spelled the same too. Tu. Yeah, exactly. Palabras. Exactly. Yeah. No, you definitely have variations, but the sort of direct translation is a different one. And I can see how hablar came from parlare. You know, like they have similar noises. Does that make sense? They have similar noises. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it's the one is like, I'm gonna deviate here. I'm gonna leave this one. You guys have that, I'm gonna change it. I think that's funny. That is also true, Oscar. That is also
very
true.
Strange. Like that's happened a couple times throughout history.
Oh, and it happens with all the different ones too. Like sometimes Italian's left out, sometimes, you know, French a lot of times is left out.
Holy crow, Shadowfreak.
Oh god. Okay.
I can't even attempt that.
Can I tell you, so two very funny things, Shadowfreak, is one, someone who plays at our table does speak Russian. And so that's very interesting. But Russian is one of those ones where what's very funny is that a long time ago, we're talking in like elementary school, in G&T, I learned the Russian alphabet. And the way I learned the Russian alphabet was very much kind of like a substitution cipher, right? Like a substitution code. So it's just like, this symbol, you know, means A, and this symbol means B, right? Like, because I was like 8 or something. So they weren't really trying to teach us Russian, I guess. But so what I ended up doing is I learned how to write all the letters, and I used it as a substitution code to write code. So I would write quote unquote Russian by writing English, but using the quote-unquote equivalent Russian letters, symbols, to the English ones. It's very funny.
Ah. That's super interesting.
I see, Oscar. I didn't realize that spelling it with a J was proper at all.
Huh.
So very interesting. Yeah,
Didn't
you definitely
realize
mixed a lot with like the Aztecs and everything. They had a lot of the X. Oh, I know all of my Aztec pronunciation solely from No Evil. Because I knew that I would. Older maps have been written Mexico
You know
with a
what?
J.
It's effective.
That's fun. It is effective. Look, we're learning so much today.
We're learning a ton, and it's great.
Always learn a lot. These streams always end up being educational in one way or another. My goodness. It's already Friday. Ugh.
I know. It's so crazy.
The one thing I don't like about the week, the beginning of the week starts slow. And for me, that's good because I need all the freaking time I can get. But then once you, Nahuatl? Is that it?
What'd you say?
I believe Oscar is trying to have us Nahuatl. Okay, with a W. Is trying to have us learn the Aztec language. Or the, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. Russian Solo. Yeah, that's why it's like a Shadow Freak. That's why I say like we quote unquote learned it. But I have like I can vividly picture
Using the word learned very loosely.
See, this is okay. Very briefly going back to the aphantasia thing. I can picture the piece of paper that like we were given with the Russian Cyrillic alphabet on it and the like translations, right? Like I can picture it. My eyes are fully open. I'm not looking at it. Does that make sense? I can vividly 100% know exactly what this piece of paper looks like. Okay? It's not photographic level. Like, I couldn't sit there and remember all the symbols, right? But I know it is a pink piece of paper. That was one of those slightly thicker pieces of paper, right? And I know exactly what pink it is. And I can see the ink on it that is slightly sort of offset, like the printer was dying when it was printed out, and so it's kind of like it got smudged and rubbed off, and it kind of has like this sheen to it. I can feel this piece of paper. I know in my house where this piece of paper exists. I can visualize where the piece of paper, but I'm not looking at it, okay? That's where the line is drawn. I'm not looking at it.
I see.
Nahuatl's like Latin of those Asian Mesoamerican nations. Alright, very neat. The umlaut before. Just imagine pronouncing the oo in kazoo. Okay. After the normal letter. So an O with the umlaut on top would be O, like that?
Guess so.
Or would it just be ooh? Good Jesus Christ, you shared a link. She got a 37. Damn, I didn't get that high. But she's a painter.
Holy crow.
She's a painter, you said, so I'm not threatened. You know what I'm saying? I've done digital art for much longer than traditional art at this point, I think. So yeah, exactly. She's a painter, she could have it. she could have this. I'm okay. I will accept defeat there. To make tattoos? Oh, I mean, still physical art, right? I bet all of those inks have names. You know what I'm saying? Because I know all my ink have names.
I mean, they must.
You know what hurt me? This is a very funny thing. one of the colors of the markers that I have changed its name. So it has the same number because they all have a number system, right? It's a number letter system. So it's an alphanumeric system. That's the word. When it has a number and a letter in it, that's alphanumeric. So it's the same number symbol, but it has a different name now. So the marker that I have, the physical marker, has the original name on it, but my ink refill bottle has the new name on it. It's very interesting. But they're not two different colors because the number letter combo is the same. Look, you learned something. So yeah, there you go. Oh my god, I'm almost, guys, since I've been doing the line art on this on stream, because it's kind of mindless. Help, you're getting bullied? Why are you getting bullied? Because you got a 22?
Why are you being bullied?
The former O, then U. Alright, so O is the umlaut. Like, some memories are stronger, but you constantly need to substitute recent strong memories and stitch them together. Interesting. Alright.
Huh.
I don't know how, I guess, I'm not sure how that works with when I visualize character designs, but yeah, maybe I just have a very large visual library. Who knows? I don't know.
I think it's a little different for everybody. Like, we all have our own ways of seeing the world, so we're all going to process it a little bit differently.
It's
right?
okay, Oscar. We're just talking about exactly what Mars said. Everybody sees it a little differently. That's why there's a test in the first place.
Yeah, there we go. It all came full circle.
I'm so curious now, though. I wonder if there's a do you have a Fantasia quiz that's like actually like interesting.
A Fantasia quiz?
The Aphantasia quiz.
Oh, okay.
That's like interesting instead of like just trying
I was
to.
so confused for a moment. I'm like, what?
Like, instead of just trying to tell me like, do you see it? Yeah. See, I don't like the ones that are trying to ask me like questions. Does that make sense? Because I feel like I would answer them wrong. With how I'm trying to describe my whole thing. Yeah, see, this whole thing where it's like, close your eyes and imagine a thing.
Anything could accurately describe it.
You want revenge? Oh god. Having RGB values, Jesus Christ, once upon a time, for a short period of time of maybe a month, because I was doing all of this stuff with like setting up the channels and like making sure all the colors were the same. So I have a little post-it note that has the hex codes of the brand, quote unquote, brand colors. So once for about a month, I had those memorized because I was using them constantly. I no longer have them memorized.
Oh no!
You should still be proud of your 22, Oscar. And you're 25, I think you said, Shadow Freak, you know? You didn't get a 2, and that's all that matters. Yeah, God, see, this is... it's very sad. The Aphantasia quiz just doesn't make sense to how my brain works, I guess. Vividness of imagery. Yeah, see, it's not what I want. Because none of them actually describe what I experience. In my opinion.
I don't think any of them will fully capture it, to be honest with you. That's the problem.
The colonialism? No. Not us. I'm Hispanic. I don't count. No. No, because the other half is British, so it sucks.
That is rather unfortunate.
It cancels out. No, I'm messing. Yeah, we're winding down. It's going. Oh, but yeah, since I've been doing the line art on stream, I have to actually start drawing more sketches for this because I'm almost through all the lines.
Oh man!
And I learned that apparently all my brain is capable of during stream to actually get things done is line art. I can't do anything else. I could probably color, but that's not my job, so it doesn't work.
Nope, no it is not. It is mine.
It is your job. I
Very proud of
forced
it.
it onto Mars.
Oh, but I happily took it on. I wanted to do more.
And I
you
appreciate
allowed
it.
me that.
It's one of those things where it's like, I do miss it a little bit, and then I like remember how much time it takes. You know, so it was nice when I got to redo those first few episodes because it was like, I did the whole thing, you know, like I colored everything, and it was like, that was nice. But also, yeah, I remember why I asked Mars to do this. I recall.
And
now.
luckily, I still find it very stress relieving, so I love it.
Good. I find the art to be 99% stress relieving, you know, 99% of the time. Every once in a while there's like a moment, usually at the start of trying to draw, where it's like, I really don't want to do this, but I have to, and I feel guilty if I don't do it, and then I get into it, and then we're good. But it's like, sometimes the start is sucky.
Just do what you can.
You're just describing Minecraft at a certain point, Oscar. No. It sounded in Dylan's correct Italian accent. Oh, Oscar, I mentioned, and Mars, because I haven't told you yet, I mentioned to Dylan the idea of dubbing the comic in Spanish, since we were already planning on dubbing it in English, and we have such a large Spanish following. He was very excited. He was so incredibly excited.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. The plan, Oscar, is that once we finish entry 2, to then make a dub of the portion up through entry 2. Because besides entry 1, every other entry is multiple, you know, pages. So I think that's the best way to sort of group them and have like a good length YouTube video. And yeah, but of course we want to, you know, treat our Spanish-speaking audience with as much equalness as we can, with not speaking Spanish fluently myself. And I knew that Dylan would enjoy getting to do the voices in Spanish. So that'll be very fun. I think Dylan's
really
favorite thing,
sounds
Oscar, Dylan's favorite thing is Capitan Milano. He loves it.
Capitan is very
it's his
fun.
favorite thing. It's his favorite thing. He loves it. Yeah. He loves that so much. I think it's literally his favorite part of it being a Spanish translated. He just likes it.
To be fair, it's a great vibe.
Yeah, it's a good vibe, but I think it's funny. Milano. I think it's funny. I try to say it as Melano and not Milano, because it is Milano, right? But yeah, it's still funny to me that people who don't know how to spell it like when we would just talk about it before it was written down, would spell it with an I. And it's like, no, he's not the cookie. He's like melanin, the coloration.
Like, no.
It's like, no. This is not.
Pronounce
this is
it
not
correctly. We are begging.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't think they don't pronounce it correctly. I think they just don't do it. Can't find the Smash or Pass bot? Okay, this is very important. I will stop what I am doing.
Oh.
And I will do it.
Wait, really?
I will do it. I will find it. I will find it.
It's there.
But
We
that's the
know
other
it
thing.
is.
The last case is 16 hours of gameplay on average. So what did we play? So how many? We usually stream about 4 hours, I think, right? If we go to midnight. So that was 4 hours there.
Yeah.
And then that'll be 4 hours then, but then you have to go down to 3, so we'll probably get it done. Barely, but we'll probably get it done in May. Like Milano, she likes big spoon guys. That it's Milano and Aster for her. Ferrex could, but he's, you know, it depends on what kind of person you are. Okay, we're looking for the VOD. This is very, very important.
All right. We gotta find it.
I gotta make sure. Lives? The thing is, I have to know when it was done. It was done. No, it's not that, because it was done during Rise from the Ashes, but it's at the beginning of our Rise from the Ashes. So it's not this one, okay. I know it's near one of the last Rise from the Ashes. I will find it. It's gotta be there. Because there's definitely no way. Okay. Okay. Is it? Okay. You don't know English. Brunette? Brunette is for hair. Brown hair. We have a lot of different words for skin tone. What would you call brown? Tan is in there. Olive skinned is another one.
Dark, I guess.
Yeah. I think the only ones that aren't like literally brown are like what we said, olive skinned or tan. But brunette is for hair. Yeah, olive skin, exactly. Her olive skin, his olive skin. It's very important. Okay. Okay, it's not that one. Okay, and it's not this one because it definitely wasn't the last one. So, okay. I'm on a mission, Shadow Freak. I will not let you down. Oh, I found it!
Oh, nice!
I'm gonna change the title then. How do I change the title? Where is this? It is called Edit Video. I shall change the title. Smash or pass! Exclamation. Alright. There. Main. This stream was Smash or Pass. on, spell stuff right. Only about the last hour is gameplay. Perfect, done. Save. Okay. Perfect, back. Oh, crap. Okay. I went away because I'm an idiot. Okay. Come on. My channel. Thank you. Here it is. Here's some people you know the comic. Oh, based on people you showed the comic. Milano gives. Okay, so this is very funny. This is very funny, Oscar. And the reason I think this is very funny is because I was talking with my parents about it, right? I was talking with my parents about the fact that the Spanish translation has, like, you know, way taken off more than we had ever expected, like more than the English version, right? And so my parents were very much like what do you think is the part that's like catering to you know, like the Spanish speakers, like what do they like about it? And literally the very first thought is like, yeah, they probably like Milano. I mean, I like Milano, but they
Milano
like Milano. It was very funny to me. Very funny to me. It was literally like, yeah, you know, it's because I made Milano tan with dark hair and very hot. That's why. I knew it was why. Hey, I like Milano, so you know.
Can't go wrong with Milano.
I know my man tans in the summer, so you know, you get the best of both worlds. The next Latin hit, yeah.
You really do have a type.
It's one of those things where it's very funny to me to say this, and I'm gonna start it with a story, and the story is that I took a class in also Shadow Freak. It is now a stream that is named Smasher Pass, so you should hopefully be able to find it easier. I meant to get the link, but then it sort of like in backing out was weird. So I found it again, so I will share it now. Copy link. Okay, I found the link again. Here it is. Shadow Freak. There's the Smasher Pass stream. It is now named Smasher Pass as well. So but so the story is that I was part of a class that was an honors class that was specifically called Animal Behavior, and people are also animals. And so while Freud was a crackpot, there is a very certain amount of evidence about the idea of that, you know, you learn love from your parents, so your partners do end up being similar to them in specific ways. And a lot of people were denying this. After literally 2 seconds of thinking, I was like, yes, Dylan is very much like my father in way too many ways. But the thing is, I don't feel weird about it, if I'm being honest, because it's like, you know, they're two different people still, and I definitely admire a lot of things in Dylan that are specifically better than how my father is as a person. But it's definitely like you could sit there and write like a checklist of yes, these are the same things. I mean, a lot of people think Dylan and I could be like siblings. So it's very like, you know, we definitely have, well, I mean, think about it. We both have glasses. We both are relatively the same height. You know, dark brown hair, you know, he technically has hazel eyes, but, you know, it's definitely, you know, we both have sort of like a slightly more, like we tan in the summer, you know, we're definitely not pasty people, you know, this sort of thing. It could definitely be like, oh, these two could be related. But it's just very funny that it's like, I definitely notice things about like, oh, my father does this, that's a very Dylan thing, right? So that's what's interesting, and that's what I think is important. I don't sit there and go, wow, Dylan did something and that's a very my father thing. I actually sit there and my father does something and I go, that's a very Dylan thing. So that's, I think, a very important distinction to make, right? Like the person that is like the main person is Dylan, and I'm comparing everybody else to Dylan. So I feel like that's kind of important in the whole not Freudian thing. But maybe that's just me. Papucho, yeah, he is.
Sure. Guess
He is
so.
muy guapo. What was that?
Oh,
thing,
looks
Mars?
like found it, Shadow Freak.
Yeah. Yes, Shadow Freak. Have a good time in a much longer stream than I expected Smash or Pass to take, so that's why I'm a little scared about editing it when I get there. When I get to that. Its perception of Dylan reality. Yeah, really though. But yeah, so that was a funny little thing because it happens to me, you know, a lot, and especially like you know, I spent a whole 10 days with my dad, and it's very much just like in my brain every once in a while it's like, yeah, that's a very Dylan thing. Yeah, Dylan would like that. You know, Dylan would have done that.
That checks out
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And it's just like, oh yeah, such is life. It's one of those things where, like, you definitely don't sit there and notice it. Does that make sense? Because it's not like I don't see
You're not
them as each other.
thinking about
You know?
it.
But it's like I don't see them as each other. It's not like, you know, it's like a weird thing. But it's definitely just like, yes, these two people in my life are very similar. You know, like, and I can tell. But, you know, when you think about it, a lot of your friends can do that too, you know?
Oh,
Like,
definitely.
so it's
You-
definitely like...
You lean toward what you're comfortable
Exactly. Manfred, he's are you saying he better be a Smash for all of us? Then you might be disappointed. However, you will definitely enjoy he does say Smash.
with. Ori and I definitely don't know how to play Smash or Pass because we kept bringing personalities into it.
Yeah, so Mars and I
don't
are
know
both
how to play
ace,
Smash or
if
Pass.
you didn't know that. We don't hide it, but we don't like
Advertise
woo,
it.
you know,
Well,
it just is a thing.
Yeah, maybe we
Sometimes,
do actually.
Every once in a while we do. If
It
it comes
depends
up.
on
But we
the
don't
day.
like sit there and be like, yes, we're ace streamers or something. But you know, a lot of our chat are also ace as well. But so it's very funny to me is the fact that so when we do Smash or Pass, it is not solely looks. And what is also very hilarious to me, and
So
I thought
hard.
about this later, Mars, this is very funny. Everybody I said Smash to is either voiced by Dylan or me, except Mia, who's voiced by you. Everybody else is a Dylan character or a character I voiced. It's very funny to me. It's more just like, I mean, you also did, you know, you voiced like an old lady in our most hated character, so you just kind of got a bit of the bad luck there. But I just thought it was very funny because also I feel like a lot of characters I see Dylan in a lot of the characters he voices as well. I very much see Dylan in Edgeworth and in Gumshoe in, you know, respective ways. That's exactly Ace. So it's not aromantic. Those are two different things, Oscar. So Ace is asexual, and that is the not having a sexual, like, attraction.
Urge. Yeah.
Not necessarily urge, but the idea is like I don't
need it in my life.
You don't need it, but you also you don't go and you don't see someone and go, yes, I want to do it with them. Like, you don't have that. That's not around. Like, you don't have that. Having a one-night stand is not something that you're like even really thinking about because you don't see people as sexually attractive, right? If I look at spicy art, it's not because I want to like have that relationship with them.
If I'm looking at spicy art, it's because I want to see my ship together.
It's because I want to see the ship together.
I'm not imagining myself in that scenario.
I'm not there at all. I don't exist in this scenario at all. There's no like hot character that I want to do things to me or to do things to, right? Outside of like a hand of God sort of thing. Yeah, people do go and do that stuff for fun. And so there's not
definitely.
like an urge there. There's not like a seeing someone as being sexy in the actual definition of the term, right? Oh, I'm so glad. This warms my heart, Shadow Freak. Every time it's like someone's ace in the community, I'm like, this is the best thing in the world. Because for the longest time in my life, I associated with very sexual people.
Oh,
And I am
sweet.
not This was a time.
I still kind of do. Like, honestly, only ace
Well-
representation I found is this community.
It's this, yeah, no,
And
it's
Ori,
literally.
of course.
Mars and I had like a moment after college where it's like, oh yeah, so I'm ace, and then we're like, oh yeah, I'm ace too, and we're like, nice. Knuckles. Nucky D's.
Just like, bruh.
It's like, yeah. So every time someone in our chat is like, yes, I'm ace too, it's like, it's so relatable. Because before Mars, and this is very funny, before Mars, the only other ace person I knew in real life was a sex repulsed ace. And that was a very interesting experience for me, because so she didn't want to see any NSFW stuff, and she really hated like anything talking about it. It's like, this is not my experience. I don't know how to relate to you at all, because I don't understand.
Hate it. I just don't want it for myself.
I'm not in it. Yeah, I'm not in it.
Yeah.
It's exactly like all the spicy stuff that I do is very Hand of God.
But
vibe, right?
but I want characters to have a good time.
Okay, so Shadow Freak, Dylan smashes Manfred and Gant. I don't smash either, and I don't think Mars did either.
I definitely did not smash Manfred, and I did not smash Gant.
Yeah. However,
Their personalities are toxic and dirty, and I can't.
also, I don't like how Gant or Manfred look in any sense.
Maybe in their younger days, but not as is.
I think the one smash that I can think of that I did that neither you nor Dylan did was Gregory Edgeworth. I think
Gregory
that's
wasn't terrible. I don't think I went for him, though.
I don't think you said smash. I'm pretty sure you said pass, and I know Dylan said pass, but I said smash, and it's just like, I don't know. Come on, I like the Edgeworths, man. They're a good-looking group.
I mean, those genes are strong.
Yes, please. Trying to think if there was an. I'm pretty sure. I think I was the one that had the least amount of smashes in the end, and Mars and Dylan were actually tied, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
So that was an interesting experience. But yeah, so I'm sorry, Oscar. We sort of got off a little bit of a topic, but yeah. So it's very much the idea that you don't see other people as sexy. You can see them as pretty. You can see them as like aesthetically nice. Like you can acknowledge the fact that this person is a very beautiful person, or they are in a very nice fitting
you look
outfit.
At the menu, but you don't order.
Yeah, exactly. But I have no interest in like doing things. Aromantic is a different thing that, you know, a lot of people are both. That's why they're called aro ace. But aromantic things is they don't want to have a romantic relationship with people. So it's like, in my opinion, that's like cuddling, or specifically like wanting to have and build a home together with somebody, and like going out on dates, and like snuggling, and like doing like all the stuff that you think of a couple do outside of the sexual stuff, right? Does that make sense? So aromantic people have no desire to do that. I have a desire to do that. I am dating Dylan, so I would hope so. But you know, but some people don't, and thus are happy in not having a relationship. But I would also say that you don't have to be aromantic to be happy in not having a relationship, because before I met Dylan, I wasn't looking for anything. Dylan sort of fell into my lap in sort of a metaphorical sense.
It really worked out for you guys.
It really did. I'm very lucky. You know, if I'm being completely honest, we sort of definitely the stars aligned, and it's been great. But the whole thing is like, I was never somebody that was like, I am missing out on being in a relationship with people. But I still had like the, yes, you know, I want to be cute with somebody, like that would be nice, but it was never like a need. So I think that's sort of like, you don't have to be aromantic to still be like, I'm fine as a person on my own, you know. That's the sort of thing. But it's the having no desire at all to date anybody at all, or do that ever. It's like someone who doesn't like sugar. It doesn't disgust them, but enough for them. Yeah, exactly. And some people, it does disgust. Like I talked about the sex repulsed ace person that I knew. They found the whole idea of anyone, anytime, anything sexual or having, sexual relations in any sort of was disgusting, was revolting. Like, they would actually
not a
gag,
fan at all.
right? They didn't like it. They didn't want to see it. Like, it was actually a revolting thing. And on the other, so that's like the one end of the ace sort of area, and then the other end is more where Mars and I are, where it's like, no, we will very much enjoy watching two characters we want to be together do whatever necessary they want. I'm glad no one is joining in now on this one, because you weren't here, Mars. But
Yeah, this would be hard to explain.
No. I essentially pulled up. I posted the medic doodles, right? The spicy doodle for Kofi. And so, and I brought in the preview image, and I was briefly talking about it, but I was mostly just thinking it was Jamie and Oscar in the chat. And then Hans came in right at the moment where I was like, ah, yes, the spice. I was like, well, at least I know Hans is down. It's fine. I'm glad you're letting us. You could ask serious questions in the chat at any time. We will talk about literally anything. I don't know if there are very few topics that I don't think Mars and I will talk about, and that's mostly
just
probably
anything
politics,
super personal,
or super personal. That's sort of where it is. Not often heard in Mexico. Yeah, it's definitely sort of one of those quote unquote newer named things, if that makes sense.
We have the language to describe it now.
Yeah,
it was always something that existed. We just never had the language for it before. That's what's so great about language. It changes and evolves.
Yeah. Exactly. No, there's a lot more words under that umbrella that some people use and some people don't. But honestly, I just sort of am like, no, I'm ace. That's all you need to know about it. And then I'm just gonna live my life.
And that's where it is.
And that's where it is. I don't want to worry about all the other labels and stuff. Those are for people who want them, And if you want to seek something out that very specifically describes what you are, be my guest.
More
you
power
can use whatever words you want. I don't really care. But yeah, at this point in my life, and 90% of the actually having a name for it was just like, yeah, I'm ace. That's enough coverage for the whole deal. Felt like a caveman because your city was still the old way. That happens definitely in America too, when you travel to big cities. What's really interesting to me, I have a lot more of the opposite sort of thing. When I go to cities, especially... He's flipping between 1 and 0. Why does it recognize? I don't know, Oscar. The Shadow Freak, sorry. I don't know. It might be me, actually, because I'm on it. I'm watching myself as well. Yeah, I don't know. So sometimes YouTube's a weird glitch. It recognizes you enough, certainly, Shadow Freak.
Oh, definitely.
It's the live update thing. But the weird thing I was talking about is that, so Mars and I live relatively close to New York City, in the sense of that we have visited it very often, pretty often. So while we're not quote unquote New York City natives in any sort of way, we would still be probably considered kind of touristy by the people who live there. We know the major places, right? And we know what it looks like and how it feels like, and that is the city, at least for me, that I associate with what a city looks like, which is wrong in the sense of that most other cities don't look like New York City. So when I went to college in the city of Syracuse, they call it a city and they talk about it as a city, and in my opinion, it is not a city. There's not a skyscraper in sight. There's very few people compared. They're not walking around all the time. There's not some sort of hum in the background of just people existing and constantly seeing people walking around and doing stuff at all hours of the day, at all times of night. There's not lights that are just constantly on so bright that it's daytime, no matter how much light there is outside in the sky. Like, it's a very... You don't
very
look
different.
up and barely see slivers of sky through the skyscrapers. It's just a town that's just full of buildings that aren't homes. You know, like, it's a very different sort of experience. Like I said recently, I went to Rotterdam, which is one of the more modernized cities that we viewed on the trip to the Netherlands and Belgium. And they're talking about, like, all these very, like, specific skyscrapers that they have that they're, like, very proud of. But then they, because we're from, you know, the tourist group we were part of is from America, they're like, yes, this is only half the size of the Empire State Building. And you look up and you see sky like I would see in my backyard, which is not the kind of sky you see in New York City. So I think it's the opposite sort of feeling you have, Oscar, which is where when I go to any other city that people are like, yes, this is a city, it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a city.
Not even close.
No. In Mexico City, no one will judge you for how you look or if you're with your boyfriend. Jalisco and Mexico City is like the paradise to LGBT. Well, that's an interesting thing you mentioned that, Oscar. What actually turns out to be statistically backed up is that more populated areas, and thus cities, are more liberal and open because they physically have more people, and thus mathematically they have more people who are part of these minority communities, and thus everybody sort of lives together and exists together, or just sort of is like, accepting at a certain point in time. And obviously those people of the LGBT community or whatever, yeah, it does though, Oscar. Versus, so New York City is incredibly liberal compared to even Long Island, which is a bunch of smaller towns, right, compared, which is a very interesting thing in my personal experience, but it's very a funny sort of, you know, thing to realize that, yes, everybody else is not as liberal as could have expected it to be, with New York being a blue state, but that's because of New York City. Same with California. Same with even Texas, okay? This is a very interesting thing. Everybody thinks of Texas as being Republican, and it is, because mathematically there's more people throughout the entire state than there is in one specific city. But in Austin, Texas, they are liberal, because that is the major city. Isn't that interesting?
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Well, old people in my life still look at people kind of for having tattoos. So, I feel like at a certain point it is just older people. I think both of my parents would be concerned for my employment if I got a tattoo, like for getting a job. They would both still have that mindset. So, it's a very interesting thing.
My parents too, especially if I'm going with kids. Although that stigma is dying down in my field a bit. A lot of people in my field actually have tattoos. Cool.
And the lawyer profession, it is incredibly looked down upon to have exposed tattoos. You can have them if while wearing a suit nobody sees them, but if you're wearing a suit and they are plainly visible, that will actually like get you removed.
Yeah.
It's that
So stupid.
having almost all one of the interesting things is only relatively recently is having a beard acceptable in the lawyer field, and it has to be very cleanly trimmed. Before, it was very common and essentially expected that as a lawyer you were clean shaven constantly, always, no matter what, because it was like it's like the idea that you're like you're kempt, you're maintained, you are professional, at home and with the job, right? That's why you wear a suit, like That sort of thing. Same with longer hair and being a lawyer. They expect you to have, as a man, classically short men's haircut and having longer hair. Oh, my cousin. Oh, this is very funny. I have 2 cousins, and this is very funny to me, that are younger than me. And they have both turned out to be very interesting for their parents because their father is my father's brother, and so both of them are kind of more on the traditional side. And both of their children are definitely not very traditional children. And my cousin, he has longer hair than I do, which is a feat.
That is quite
and it is definitely something that I have to sort of like, because it's one of those like ingrained things for both my parents. You smashed a scorpion, and yeah, that does sound very Mexican,
Jeez.
Oscar. I have never seen a wild scorpion in my life. I've seen
and
snakes,
I hope never do.
but not scorpions. Also, scorpions they're one of those size of bugs that like you feel and make a noise when you smush them, and I can't deal with that.
Bull. Nope. All the nopes.
Wow, Oscar, your grandmother
So many nopes.
look like DJs. I think it's more just about movement and business and communication that gets people. Wow, these people aren't like me, but they're also a lot like me. You mean like having a beard and having hair? Longer hair as a man? It's just one of those things that have a stigma, Bright colors equals venomous. I'm less worried about them actually stinging me, Oscar, and more just the fact that any bug, poisonous or not, if it will give resistance when I step on it, if I can feel the fact that I am stepping on it,
that is a hard no.
that is too large for me to smush. Okay? If I know that it'll... Okay, I have a very... So I love Dylan. I love Dylan so much. Dylan is also... He hates bugs, and they're creepy, and they're big, and so he's definitely afraid of them. However, he is a very, very good macho boyfriend, and he sucks it up because I will not. I cannot do it. I am... No. I was on the phone with Dylan. He was coming over, and he calls me when he drives, and I was on the phone with him. I don't know, like in the kitchen doing whatever, and I go to the living room, and I see a bug flying through the air, and it flies through the window, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, it is big, and big means maybe
big.
Maybe like not to the first pinky knuckle, but like halfway there, right? So a good like inch long, okay, of a beetle. So that's relatively large for where we live. And I was like, it keeps like climbing up the window, and I'm like telling him on the phone, I'm like, oh my god, whatever. I'm like, Dylan, you're gonna have to I'm like keeping tabs on it because you're gonna have to get it when you come here and do it. Like, I can't do it. And he's like, come on, Ori, like you could do it. You could be strong, and you could suck it up. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to approach this bug in order to capture it because I definitely can't squish it. It's too big. And I am like coming towards it, and I don't see it because it's apparently like crawling up the window, and it's like kind of under the blind. And now the windows we have 2 panes, right? It has the front pane, which sticks out a little bit from the top pane, so there's like a little window ledge in the middle of the window. This is important. It's climbing on the higher window above this little ledge. For whatever reason, it is struggling and unable to climb the window. So the window, the bug is climbing up the window, and it falls off the window down to this little ledge. And now this is the best part. It made a noise. Not like it made a noise from its body, like the act of the bug falling onto the windowsill made a noise. That's how big this bug was. And so I went, Dylan, fuck no. I am not doing this. This bug is so loud that it is so big that when it fell, the act of gravity made it make a noise. And he's like, okay, fine. Like, I couldn't do it.
That's so bad.
I couldn't do it. Oh, it's emojis. Shadow Freak. I
think it's on YouTube that don't show up over here.
Yeah, they don't show up. No, they show up on Twitch. They don't show up on YouTube. It's essentially what it looks like is two strong green arms flexing their biceps around either side of a blue sort of piranha-looking-ish fish face, making the pog face. Yeah, that's what they're asking about. That's the main whole thing. I can kind of show you, Shadow Freak. That's actually a question I wanted to ask everybody. Are you guys people who, even Mars can answer this if you watch any other streams besides ours, do you guys enjoy having the chat on the streamer screen? Yeah, you can't see Twitch emotes. So you could see them in theory on the streamer screen.
On the display.
Is that something you guys would like? Because I haven't done it, because me personally as a viewer of streams, I don't really give a shit. But if that is a preference of the community, I can certainly make it work. What you do have, Shadow Freak, I believe you should have. Nope, not there. It should come up. Yeah, there it goes. Look, you can see it.
Ah!
I don't know why it didn't come through that way.
Reasons.
I'm curious if I do it this way, if it works. But yeah, so you can see some Twitch emotes.
Better than none.
It doesn't work when I do it through Restream. But yeah, so I don't know how to get the ones, because you were supposed to be able to do them too. I don't know how it works. But at least you can see them through the screen. So Oscar, you should use more of our emotes because the YouTube friends can see them. All right. You hate moths. Oh god, that's a lot of moths.
Oh wow.
You're a chat on screen man? Okay. Oscar, are you a chat on screen? God. We're about to end.
I think it's getting late.
Long. Yeah, I'll probably put a message in the Discord as well. I probably still won't do it for Ace Attorney, solely because
that would take a
confidence
screen.
Yeah, because my main goal with the Ace Attorney videos is the screen to be very big and very little cluttered as possible. So I probably wouldn't have that. I might make it work. I might think about actually one way that I've just thought it could work. So maybe. Because I'm thinking about it now, and there could be a fun way that we could change it, because I might take away this subscriber goal thing, because it's kind of it's okay. And I might put it there, and that could be fun. Okay, I'll keep you up on that promise, Oscar. But, alright guys, thanks for hanging out. We went later than expected because we got on talking, because that's what this is all about. And
yeah, it happens sometimes.
You guys asked questions and did whatever, and I didn't have to think about sketching yet. Still got a little more panels here.
Indeed.
And yeah, so next stream is Sunday for Drawings of Dragons,
D&D night.
where I'm working on the Peace Hammer, which is a fun, law-inspired hammer that hopefully you will very much recognize once you see it on the screen.
And we get to hear our lovely recap.
Oscar, it looks like you're gonna have to break out Dark Oscar over on YouTube in order to prove Shadow Freak wrong.
Oh boy.
But yes. Still be trained. Yeah, that'll be good. You'll have to coach him. But yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. Always happy to talk with you. Lurking or, of course, active in chat friends. And yeah,
We appreciate them all.
we hope to see you on Sunday. Good night. Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, you want to raid?
If he's still going. He is still going. Alright, we're gonna
Holy
raid
crap.
Hans. He is
All
learning
right,
to
off we
play
go.
the guitar. But I just want to pay it forward, you know? Drow raided us, we'll raid Hans. And, alright, guys. Now I have to start a countdown. I said goodnight prematurely. Alright. Good
We
night,
made it
guys. We'll see you on Sunday, and have fun listening to Hans if you're gonna stick around. He's a fun guy. Alright.
He very much is. See you
Good
guys
night.
on Sunday.